Well, good evening, this is Hound Dog Steve coming to you on the 15th of March, and I've just come across an article where police in Canada are tracking negative behaviour to try and discover at-risk people in society. That's the topic for this evening, and a warm welcome back to all of you, and to our newcomers, please sit down, enjoy yourself, like, comment and subscribe if you feel so inclined. And just a quick note, on my last video I actually got an email from somebody who suggested that I might want to see a doctor if I had a bit of a funny turn on the video. Well, as you can imagine, on this side of the camera it's really awkward to get up and turn off the camera and turn it back on again because a word came out the wrong way, or it didn't fit in quite right. Well, normally what I'll do, instead of turning off the camera, I just sort of put my head down, I gather my thoughts, and then start again, and I just edit out in the editing stage. So everything is fine. It was a late night, and I rushed to upload. I normally run through the video and check all of that to make sure there isn't any embarrassing little moments that take place when you're sitting on this side of the camera. Anyway, I'm laughing my head off at this. It was too funny when I saw it this morning. I'm going, oh my God, Steve, please tell me you didn't do that. Anyway, so there you go. I am fine. I'm not having some kind of mental aberration. And anyway, here we go. The police now are getting together with other agencies to try and isolate at-risk people. Now, in the articles that I read, and I'm going to show you this in a second, they keep referring to, the client. And it doesn't really, describe who the client is, just that you are a client. And you are possibly, if you give the wrong signs off, you are ready for an intervention. Now, this is really just a cheap way of surveilling the population. And they do these things, they portray them in such a way where they'll say, oh, we're going to prevent suicides, and we're going to prevent crime, and oh, really, it's for the good of the population, it's for the good of the community. Well, that's where it all starts, but it's just a way to surveil people more and more. And this happened with the last Conservative government, as I recall, and they wanted to bring in more surveillance on the internet, and they used the excuse of pedophilia. And the inference was that if you weren't in favour of allowing yourself to be surveilled, like the entire population, that you were one of these people, you were in favour of these people, which of course is absolute nonsense. We have a right to privacy, and we don't have to justify that. The government works for us, not the other way around. Yes, this is just absolutely over the top. This is a complete red herring to distract you, and I'm sure that there are people who will say that, well, if you prevent a few suicides, it will be worth it. But who's going to determine this? Who is going to, it's an algorithm, okay? They're going to use an algorithm to try and discover who is at risk. And Facebook is doing this, okay? Facebook has got an algorithm now that can supposedly decide who is at risk by the speed that you scroll on your screen, your rate of response, what time you take, this kind of stuff, the kind of pictures you're looking at, what kind of posts that you're making. And well, for starters, we all go up and down. We all go through blue times and good times. Some a little deeper than others, and some a little higher than others. But by and large, we are all a wavy kind of being when it comes right down to it. And so it's very, very difficult to determine when one is going to do away with oneself. And just to highlight that, what's been discovered in recent years from reports from many parents of this horrible, horrible situation, but they've relayed the fact that, well, they thought that their children were getting better, that they seemed to be more cheerful and upbeat and positive, and they'd left the darkness behind. And of course, that's when they've decided what they're going to do. They resolved how they're going to solve this situation, and they're going to do it by exiting the planet. Okay, so how can you tell that? That's why so many parents are shocked when this thing happens, because it's just so, it was out of the blue. maybe there was some issues before, but the clouds seem to have disappeared. Okay, and when it comes down to judging people, for example, I go back to, I'm just post-Second World War, okay, but I remember during the Second World War, for example, of course we were fighting Germany, and the Allies had a group called the Underground. Now the Underground's job, and they were supplied by the British government, they were helped, aided and assisted with equipment, munitions and this kind of stuff, and their job was to slow down the Germans at all costs, whatever it was. If you could take a rail line off, if you could interrupt a phone message, if you could cut wires, whatever it was, help airmen that had parachuted into enemy territory, and they did so at great risk to their own personal lives and their families' lives, because if you were caught, it was over. Okay, now for the British and the Allies, these people were heroes, but to the Germans, they were terrorists. Okay, so one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist, and so how do you judge that? These people who joined the Underground prior to being in that role, they were butchers, they were barbers, they were clerks, they were shop assistants, restaurant owners, hotel owners, whatever it was, and same in France, because there were people who opposed the Vichy government in France. Okay, but these were regular folk who were all of a sudden, because circumstances had changed, their role in life had changed along with it, and depending on where you were standing, you could interpret that action any way you wanted to. So now here we are, we're being judged. So let me just set up a quick little scenario here. So say for example, you have a Facebook page, most people do, and Facebook feels, that algorithm feels that you have enough little crosses on your page that warrants some kind of intervention. Well, who are they going to call? Well, they're going to call these professionals that we're going to see in these articles that I'm referring to, and then you are going to become a client. And then they're going to rake through your past, and again, using myself as an example, because I'm now reporting on the news and actively searching for information, I can tell you that my researchers take me down some very strange paths indeed, and some of them I do not stay very long, but the fact is, it would just show up to the algorithm that I visited that site. Okay, so that's a tick mark or a cross, or whichever way you want to look at it, against me. And but again, I'm a regular guy with an active mind and an interested eye. I love, researching the news that I'm bringing to you, and all of these little details, and speaking out about it, because we should be speaking out about this kind of surveillance, this level of surveillance, because I don't think it is really effective. And what are you going to do? You're going to peg these people for some kind of psychiatric assessment. You will momentarily pull them out of the situation that created all the conditions that brought them to that state of mind. And once you think that you've talked to them, or you've implemented some kind of new thought regime, you plonk them back in the same situation. And of course, in one of the articles it says that one of the big problems is that there was no follow-up. There was no follow-up. Okay, so let's just flip over and take a look at these articles, because there's quite a few of them, and I'll be quite brief because I'm sure that you will be getting the idea that this is just the thin end of the wedge. Okay, here we go. Okay, and this from a motherboard. Police in Canada are tracking people's negative behaviour in a risk database. The database includes detailed but de-identified information about people's lives culled from conversations between police, social services, health workers and more. Police, social services and health workers in Canada are using shared databases to track the behaviour of vulnerable people, including minors and people experiencing homelessness with little oversight and often without consent. Documents obtained by Motherboard from Ontario's Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services through an Access of Information request show that at least two provinces, Ontario and Saskatchewan, maintain a risk-driven tracking database that is used to amass highly sensitive information about people's lives. Information in the database includes whether a person uses drugs, has been the victim of an assault, or lives in a negative neighbourhood. The risk-driven tracking database is part of a collaborative approach to policing called the Hub model that partners cops, school staff, social workers, healthcare workers, and the provincial government. Information about people believed to be at risk of becoming criminals or victims of harm is shared between civilian agencies and police and is added to the database when a person is being evaluated for a rapid intervention intended to lower their risk levels. Interventions can range from a door knock and a chat to a forced hospitalization or arrest. Okay, so what is this hub method? Okay, let's take a little look at this. Canada's hub model calling for perceptions, feedback from those clients at the focus of collaborative risk-driven intervention. Although quite different from Canada's hub model, so they've changed it already, demonstrated that multiple human service professionals can reduce harm by mobilizing supports around individuals showing elevations in risks. In much of the research and evaluation on this model, the perspectives and feedback gathered to develop the data have largely come from human service providers and or their management teams. In fact, only 2 evaluation efforts to date have successfully gathered data from actual clients involved in hub discussions. Some of the reasons given for the lack of data from client subjects of hub discussions include a lack of follow-up with clients in the hub discussion process, as well as limitations in data collection capacity at the local level. And we're going to trust all of our data with these people right here. You're kidding me. So how about this? The RCMP surveilled thousands of innocent Canadians for a decade, and they're citing poor training, secret facilities, and dragnets. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police has been using mass surveillance devices known as IMSI catchers in public for a decade. In that time, the police have indiscriminately surveilled potentially thousands of Canadians without their knowledge and stored that information for later use. These documents reveal that the RCMP cut corners in training officers on how to use mass surveillance devices and routinely surpassed even US federal police in their embrace of the technology by retaining surveillance data after an investigation is concluded. Clearly, they've been planning for some time to use them for day-to-day mass policing. So who's going to decide who is who? Well, Galileo's observations strengthened his belief in Copernicus' theory that Earth and all other planets revolve around the Sun. Most people in Galileo's time believed that the Earth was the center of the universe and that the Sun and the planets revolved around it. Galileo was sentenced to life imprisonment in 1633. There you go. Wrong speak, and what happens? So Facebook rolls out AI to detect suicidal posts before they're reported. Oh my God, what could go wrong? Oh, and what's this from the Telegraph? Chinese school uses facial recognition to monitor students' attention in class. And so here we have every movement of pupils at Hangzhou No. 11 High School in eastern China is watched by 3 cameras positioned above the blackboard. And one of the students says, previously when I had classes that I didn't like very much, I would be lazy and maybe take naps on the desk or flick through other textbooks. But I don't dare be distracted after the cameras were installed in the classroom. It's like a pair of mysterious eyes are constantly watching me. The system works by identifying different facial expressions from the students, and that information is then fed into a computer which assesses if they are enjoying lessons or if their minds are wandering. If it concludes that the student is distracted with other thoughts during the class, it will send a notification to the teacher to take action. And I wonder what action looks like. Maybe a little bit of attitude adjustment classes? How China's social credit system blocked millions of people from traveling. The National Public Credit Information Center revealed in its annual report that people with low scores have been blocked from buying airline tickets 17.5 million times in 2018 alone. People were barred from buying train tickets 5 million times. Additionally, there were 290,000 instances where a person's low score stopped them from getting a senior management job or acting as a company's legal representative. In some places, if you are on this blacklist, there have been experiments where the government will automatically change your cell phone ringtone. So if your friends call you, instead of hearing a phone ringing, they get a message saying this person's on the blacklist as a kind of public shaming method. And there you go, that kind of sums it up, doesn't it? It's like Christmas for repressive regimes. China is selling surveillance technology all over the world. Carrot rewards. This is in Canadian. Join over 1 million Canadians who are walking, learning and earning with Carrot. Earn your favourite points for living well. And there you go, steps taken today. Other people on the who belong to Carrot. Life advice looking through a window. And of course, if you get the wrong answer, you don't get any points. And these are the reward points that you can get. You can go see a movie. Look at that, how nice. Earn rewards from your favorite programs. And if you think there is no connection, between this and the Chinese social credit system, you're very much mistaken. This is softening you up to accept even more monitoring. And of course, this will be looking out for aberrant behavior. You know, did you wake up late today? Are you walking a little bit more slowly? Are you exercising less? Oh, maybe you're depressed. Okay, we're going to have an intervention, a speedy intervention. And wouldn't you know it, Facebook's fake news squad comes to Canada just in time for 2019. The coming federal election will test Canada's ability to cope with political misinformation. In Canada, Facebook is partnering with Agency France Presse, the international news agency. AFP fact-checkers will review stories that are being shared on Facebook and rate the reports for accuracy. If a story is found to be false, Facebook will limit its distribution and notify all those who have already shared the story. Well, again, false in whose mind? You know, Galileo turned out to be right. And you have to remember that this has been going on all the time, and against all odds, we have percolated and bubbled up into the society we are by fighting for free speech and maintaining free speech. And so, yeah, you get a little fake news, get over it. It'll be fine, you'll recover. People have to be allowed freely, and that comes with some downside, and I will readily accept that downside, to be allowed to be able to speak and express myself freely, even if it is a dissenting point of view. So as you can see, all of these things are connected. This is just the beginning. And then when you connect in with this, the Huawei and 5G, okay, they want to implement 5G worldwide. This will be one company virtually that has control over that monopoly. And you can all of a sudden see how the social credit website in China could suddenly morph into the Carrot website in Canada. And then of course in Europe you have Article 13 and Article 11, which will basically shut down any creativity whatsoever on the internet. And this is just a way of shutting people up who have the wrong opinion. And you saw the clip from Galileo. In 1633 he's jailed for life because he said that the sun is the center of our solar system. Whoops, wrong think. And so this is no different. If you are speaking out against the powers that be, you will be up for some kind of targeting. There's no doubt about it. And any of you who think that this is okay, I just want to remind you that all of the rights that we have today were fought for by people who went up against authority. And they went up against them with common sense. And that common sense was turned upside down as if you were some kind of raving lunatic. But, you know, back in 1826, the Tolpuddle Martyrs, these were basically the first union that was formed. Emily Pankhurst chained herself to the gates of Buckingham Palace for women's suffrage. If she hadn't have done that, women would still be chattels today. Okay, can you imagine how popular Emily Pankhurst was at the time? They hated her. I mean, if Emily Pankhurst was today, I mean, she'd have her site shut down. Her Twitter feed would be shut down. She'd be off Facebook. Her YouTube videos would be taken down because she was an absolute dissenter of the common belief system. And we go through this all the time. And for a government or a system like globalism, and that's what this is globalism, and I said that's code for Marxism. They want to shut everyone's voice down because they do not want any dissenting voices. And this is why Marxism actually never does persist for very long, because it usually just dies of lack of innovation. Everyone starts self-policing. You stop using certain words just in case. You don't talk about your thoughts, you don't relay your thoughts in any way, you don't make any YouTube videos, you just completely shut yourself down. And of course, as we know, the government is the place where ideas go to die. So there's no innovation there. Innovation comes from the public and a free market community and freedom of speech and the ability to freely associate with who you want to. And yes, there are dangerous people out there. Yes, there are people who need to be shut down. There's no doubt about it. But that you actually have to be inciting violence against somebody. In other words, saying literally, let's form a gang and we're going to go over and we're going to get these people, whoever that might be. Okay, that is the sort of thing you need to shut down. But people expressing opinions, even if they're distasteful, and like I say, the Tolpolo martyrs, they were distasteful. Okay, Martin Luther King was distasteful to the people at the time. He was a revolutionary. And they wanted to shut him down. Well, they did shut him down, didn't they? Quite effectively, in fact. So anybody who speaks out against the system is up for a target. And but we need to speak out against the system, because this system is showing itself not to be authoritarian, but totalitarian. And as I said before, it's absolute control over absolutely everything. Okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe below. And in the meantime, this is Hound Dog Steve signing off, wishing you a great weekend coming up, and we will talk to you very, very soon. See you now. Bye.